Well, hello and happy Tuesday to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate seeing you and hope that you're having a nice week. It's certainly been a very busy week. So let's start and talk about the markets once again. Very, very interesting week as we get and continue to have discussions regarding the coronavirus and what that next round of stimulus funding will look like. Well, the Dow closed up 165 points today and the NASDAQ joined up 38 points. All eyes are on earnings. And interesting enough, after the market closed, Disney actually squeaked in a nice positive number because they did something really smart. They actually launched Disney Plus and they just crossed over the 100 million subscriber mark. So congratulations to them. But we also saw that consumer spending, unfortunately, has seemed to stall recently. In fact, restaurants as well as gas outlets have definitely seen a decrease in spendings from consumers, which could trigger a lot of things. But certainly there's been a lot of uncertainty as we get to the point of not knowing where stimulus funding is going to be. But today is a very special day because today I'm joined by my friend, Sarah Evans, is someone that I have known for a little bit now and someone I really, really admire for so many reasons. So first off, welcome, Sarah. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Winnie. Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. And thank you so much for joining us from, I guess, Toasty, Las Vegas today.
It is. This is my fake green screen background in the COVID era to mitigate the boringness of my white walls in my kitchen with all of my children running around. And it is nice and warm outside here.
It is nice and warm. It's actually really nice that you have that background because I was going to say, Sarah, because you and I both have kids. I was like, how do you maintain that baby piano background? It's like shiny, right? So the magic of technology, Sarah, we've talked about this. We had a chance to meet at an Adobe Summit conference not too long ago, and talk to us about public relations. I know that you are a powerhouse in the public relations space. Talk to me about who do you work with? What are some clients and types of clients that you currently work with?
Over the years, things have transitioned, focuses have changed, but I find one thing remains consistent, and the one thing that is always a commonality with all of our clients is a digital component or a tech component. So it either tangentially touches tech or it is tech. For example, we might not work with a beauty product outright, but if that beauty product has a technology component, an app, some sort of new digital integration, then they are a perfect fit for us. And we work with companies of all different sizes, everything from Series A funded startups to extremely large enterprise corporations. So it's got that tech angle. And I'm passionate about it. We have a lot of fun with the work that we do. And I truly love the folks we get to work with.
I know. And I've met some of your clients who absolutely adore you. And I know you've always sort of focused on technology, I know you have very close relationships with various CEOs, C-level executives on really telling their story and making sure that the media is aware of the really cool technology advancements that you're working on. So have you found, the last 5 months have been, shall we say, a little crazy with the pandemic, right? Has that impacted your industry? Has that impacted your business? Because I did speak with other public relations experts in different spaces, and some of them are doing fine, and others, depending on where their focus is, right? I have a client who is a longtime publicist in the hospitality industry, obviously a very, very challenging time. But what about for you? Technology seems to it's not going away. It's probably just getting more popular.
Almost all of our clients in the tech space have grown during this time, mostly because they have some sort of, I don't want to say COVID-19 angle, but their technology is helping during this time, whether it is to disinfect or help with safety guidelines or produce education around COVID-19, things that are actually beneficial to folks right now. I will say to all of my peers that have been negatively impacted right now, my heart truly goes out. I have several friends, especially in the Las Vegas area, who essentially woke up overnight without clients in March and April. And I will say one of the things we've been able to do is contract some of them out to help supplement some of that income. And I encourage any PR person who is doing well right now to help out your peers who have an amazing expertise who could use the work. And of course, we always have a junior guest, my junior assistant that usually pops in during these shows. But yes, things have changed, and it's a time of growth, reinvention, and reconnecting to what is important.
Can you see me?
I can totally see you.
Hello, my friend. How are you? Yes, I have junior assistants that jump in once in a while too. So they're very, very loved, and we're happy to have them on. Oh, hello, my friend.
She's coming all the way. Okay, we'll keep going.
Well, this is fine. We're very inclusive here. We're loving, and especially we love children. So, I mean, you've talked about obviously your industry, helping others in your industry. We continue to see that. When you look at the businesses that you work with currently and how you service them, has the way that you've worked with them changed? Have you changed your approach anything like that, Sarah?
Yeah, things have definitely changed. One of the most important things is client education, really focusing monthly, looking at the media landscape and what is going on, what stories are resonating, where can you contribute, and also doing so without being tasteless or tone deaf during a very scary time and time of unknown, and people are experiencing loss. The other thing is looking and checking in with reporters regularly to say, what are you covering? What's of interest to you? They're getting, a lot of the reporters I talk to are getting more pitches than ever. I want to be mindful with the outreach that I'm doing and making sure that we're contributing in the right way. Everything from, is it appropriate to create new and interesting data visual graphics for the data journalists, to the human interest angle that aren't overplayed or self-serving, like we're donating or giving money, but have you transformed someone's life? Or can your technology, product, or information truly improve some specific vertical? We have a client who has a UVC disinfectant drone that can disinfect indoor spaces. So that's great for places that really need quick turnaround disinfectant, and that's a powerful story.
That's amazing. A disinfectant drone. I think what we'll do is let's take a look at Sarah's Twitter feed, if you don't mind. I mean, I think there's so many things that I love about Sarah Evans, but one thing that resonates and really makes her stand out is if you take a look at her Twitter feed, you'll see, like, in so many respects, she's actually sharing information about her industry, about how to do social media right, about how to connect with businesses and really make an impact, not only for her own clients, but for other businesses looking to continue to build a brand on social media, to have a presence in public relations, and really that collaboration effort. And I think that's why Sarah's following, she's got over 100,000 followers on Twitter alone, and they're very, very engaged. And it's very interesting because, like, I'll say, even yesterday, Sarah does this consistently. She continues to create little platforms, little pods, groups. I know Sarah, we talked about earlier, but she's really big about collaborations with working with others in her space. Maybe, Sarah, you could talk a little bit about that. I know, like, for example, that you've reached out to many publicists in other industries and you've offered to help.
I would say I notice a direct correlation with the more that I put out and collaborate, the more that comes in, whether that's business, whether that's contacts, whether that's business referrals. But over the past 12 months, 90+% of my business has been business referrals or word of mouth from other clients that we've worked with, or people that I myself engage with. I don't do it necessarily from a selfish perspective, but those are some of the residuals that happen. The positive side of things is when you give more, you tend to get more. I have realized early on that the best way to building up my own influence was to grow others. So whenever I can do that, I try to. For example, one of the most simple things is when you're asked to speak or be a guest, recommending to other people and to other people who don't look like you. And that's something very important and a best practice that I will always continue.
I love that. So when you get invited to speak or to do a talk, then recommend 2 people that don't look like you. That's powerful, because that's adding to diversity. It's helping someone with the opportunity that you've been given. Really powerful, Sarah. and I think this is why your clients also love you, because I've actually met a lot of your clients who've actually been on our show, and we basically, Sarah, we have love fests before we get on air. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of love, and actually, I would love to. I think many of us would love to see this disinfecting drone in practice. That sounds really cool. I can see more businesses needing that and feeling more safe that things are being cleaned. So, talk to me about small business owners, small mid-sized businesses. I know we talked about this before, and just sort of the advantage that they have, or the opportunities, maybe more so of right now, because I think many businesses right now are either struggling or they're just trying to hang on, right? Doing the best that they can. But are there opportunities that they are not thinking about, that perhaps something you could share to trigger them to think about how they could maybe pivot or make slight changes in their business that could have long-term benefits?
I think one of the most important with opportunities for SMBs, small businesses right now, and startups is, number one, from a PR perspective, I know PR can be costly. It can be confusing and overwhelming. Because we are in a time of COVID-19, people want to hear success stories and growth and pivots and know what's going on. So you do have an opportunity within the media to get your story told or shared, whether that's through your own social, your own content, that's earned content, or media that or stories that you've pitched to the media. So taking a step back and looking at what are the good things happening for your company right now, or maybe there is a huge area of problem or concern that's part of a larger trend piece. You can also bring awareness or attention to it through pitching the media and working with them to tell that story, especially if that's one of the narratives happening right now. So I think while things can be difficult financially from a business perspective, you can also think about the opportunities through the stories you have to share and bringing light to a larger trend, looking at things where you're pivoting, or maybe more few and far between success stories, but there is still a place for them, and even more so.
Yes, even more so. That's powerful, Sarah. And like you said, telling that story. And I think I hear you, because there is such an interest to hear how the everyday small business owner is faring, right? And those who are doing well, we want to highlight those stories because it gives others hope, and we also learn from those experiences. So pivot a little bit over to those larger enterprises, the bigger companies, right? We've seen the pandemic sort of not really being that sensitive to how large a company you are, whether you're a small business or a large business. Across the board, you've been impacted. In some ways, the larger enterprises have been impacted even more so. Do you see any opportunities for larger businesses during this time that you think, if I were handling their PR, this is what I would tell them to do?
That's a great question. One of the most important things that I talk to at the enterprise level is really tone, timing, and empathy. Those three important components, and that has to be lived at every aspect of the organization. It's really easy to lose sight or traction of what's happening to everyday Americans or even internationally. And part of that is done through creating this emotional compass. And this is our background noise. And the fun fact is they've been quiet all day until right now. So tone, timing, empathy, and creating an emotional compass that really looks at what are the majority of customers feeling or thinking right now, making sure the messages you're delivering, the discounts that you're offering, the customer service experience you're delivering are all in alignment with that. First and foremost, people want a great product regardless. So ensuring that your product is great, but then the entire experience around that has to matter as well. If you're a B2B brand, making sure that you're working with influencers that represent that and live that in their online behavior, or is it done through customer service opportunities or traction? Zappos, an amazing Las Vegas-based business here, when COVID really came to the forefront, launched customer service for anything. They're known for their amazing customer service, and they took that a step further where you could call them to ask them questions about anything. So there are many opportunities even for big business.
Yes, absolutely, Sarah. Tony Shea, Zappos has done an incredible job of making sure their customers are happy. So that's a great example, and I do think during this time there's an opportunity for you to have a voice to talk about your story. And like what Sarah mentioned, I couldn't agree with that more. Which is make sure your product is solid. You have a really great platform. If you're in, if your product business, make sure your product is solid. If your service business, make sure your service is like the best that it can possibly be. And I will say that, Sarah, being a business owner, and I will say that if you're thinking about going this route of trying to get media attention on what you're doing, I highly recommend seeking out a professional too, because what I've learned through the years is it's great to represent yourself, but there's something so powerful about someone else representing you. And there's a reason why Sarah is so good at what she does, why clients love working with her, is because what she knows, like she talked about empathy, she talked about listening, she talked about being, sensitive to the fact that the media is already so bombarded, to do your work, to kind of sort of figure out what that writer reporter is already focusing on important trends, and then going from there. It sounds like, oh, yeah, I could do that. I wrote down everything Sarah said, but I will tell you, as someone on the other side, as a business owner, this is not something that you really want to. Well, you could. I just don't think it's a great idea to do this successfully long-term by yourself. I think it's really great, really powerful to have a professional represent you, and who has the media contacts and understands the media's appetite and interest, and really make sure. I mean, you might be successful in getting a media placement once or twice yourself. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but to have that consistency, have that relationship, I do think having a professional is so critical. That's just my opinion. And I will add to that, during this pandemic, obviously we're in a very challenging economic time right now. Businesses that really gung-ho and focus on ways to build, I think this will come. I think we'll come back and look back a couple years from now and say that was a really good decision. So if you're in a business that you still have earnings, your product is great or your service is great, I do think focusing on not only marketing, but the client experience, and then from there, sort of focusing on and telling your story and having someone help you tell that story. That's my 2 cents. I just think it's something that a lot of people, Sarah, have asked me through the years, like, is when you look back, like how do you get the attention? How do you get your business story to move? And I say, you have to have proper representation. It can be a completely life-changing move on the side of your business. And most importantly, Sarah, I say this too, and I'm sure you agree, as I do think for business owners, we often are just so focused on what we're doing. But if a customer or a client can't find us, then we essentially don't exist, right? We can have the best widget and it doesn't matter. Sarah, when you talk to your clients, right, what are you hearing? Are you hearing that are they nervous? Are they feeling optimistic? Overall, what's your sense of the businesses that you work with, especially those in tech?
One of the things I have found with every client, I talk about my kind of philosophy behind PR and this tone, timing, and empathy, and just being really mindful of the messages you're putting out. And I don't know if it's directly related, but I'd say all of the clients we work with have been so kind and mindful behind the scenes about what is actually possible, whether that's from expectation setting of what kind of media we can get based on the current landscape to, is this an appropriate message to put out? And what do you think we should say? No one, even at the CEO level of some very large organizations, have come through like they know it all. Everyone pretty much acknowledges that these are uncharted territories and people want to do the right thing. They're holding themselves accountable. They're looking for both opportunities and weaknesses, things that didn't exist that maybe they needed to because this was the type of crisis that wasn't prepared for. So I would say, that showcases at a leadership level. And I think that really resonates as messaging goes out to the public. So when we're looking for opportunities, I can find ones that are, both appropriate and represent my clients well, but also can tell a good story and serve as expert sources for media. And that's another component of my job that I feel like has upped by 60 to 70%, where in the past I always served as a resource for media, and I will place people in media stories who aren't my clients, but I've really been practicing servant leadership on behalf of my clients and other media. Just how can I help? If people are, over inundated, or some people have been pulled off their original beats and put on COVID-19 beats, how can we help them find sources, and the best possible sources, not just being self-serving?
Right. I love that. I do think that servant leadership is critical during this time, and the more we can help each other, the better. And certainly right now, I think one thing that we need to focus on too is just remembering that we're all suffering and we're all struggling together, but we will have to, one way or the other, get over this together. So that it's critical. And building during a challenging time, I've always sort of built businesses during really difficult times, and this is no different. This is a time where, you might not see fruits of your labor immediately, but if you build and you continue to put those pieces on, as you and one of your youngest assistants and I were just talking about, it's kind of like Minecraft, right? You build it piece by piece by piece, and hopefully in time, we'll have something very special. But I think right now is an opportunity, like you said. I love how you said is like identifying our weaknesses, because oftentimes we're so busy focusing on the positives and worrying about earnings, but everything sort of slowed down, and it's almost forcing us to really reflect. And I think that can be only beneficial for those of us, especially those of us who own businesses. So really, really powerful. Let's talk about personal brands. I know you focus primarily on businesses, but I mean, personal brands. I think this is so important. And if you've talked about it before, tell us more about what you think is an important personal brand, and what do you think are opportunities and challenges right now?
I think one of the things, the personal brand concept or idea has been around for many, many years. And I typically don't serve as a personal publicist, but I've really been reinforcing the importance of executives building up their own identity online, simply because, perfect. Simply because many times media or other entities, when you're trying to build influence, will say, okay, what's their reach? What's their amplification? I want to know, where their audiences are. And maybe not so much with mainstream media, but opportunities if they want to speak somewhere or be a podcast guest. So I was using this as a time to really explain to people to build up that personal brand or online reach, so that you also have amplification, which is very valuable and also can serve as another communication channel to get out news and information, or reduce misinformation and rumors. But I believe it's very important, and this can be a time to do that, especially when many people are looking for expert voices or subject matter experts in areas that didn't get a lot of attention before. Medical technology, virology, any place where they need medical, or media need medical insights. So the things that were once maybe not as forefront in the media are now getting a lot of attention. So how can you utilize that and help your own longevity, especially if you're a business owner who deals in this space?
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think for many years, it's like a lot of executives sort of just rode the coattails of their company names, right? Like you knew who the companies were, you knew what business they were in, but seldom did you know the executives who worked there. And I do think that the pandemic has sort of encouraged a lot of CEOs, especially those of diverse backgrounds, to step up into the light and say, this is who we are, this is who we represent, and I'm a leader at this company. And I think that's a welcome change. It'll be nice to see more of that.
And personality, just getting some personality. I mean, I've still, there's always a readjustment now that you hear kids and dogs in the background, things that as a professional 6 months ago, I may have been a little more mortified about. Now it's just part of everyday life. And I think it makes people more human. With clients now we're talking, I know their children's names. I know what's going on. I saw a client's cat this afternoon, and it's just made people more human and more relatable. And if that's the thing we're always talking about doing, it's actually happening.
It's actually happening. And there's so many silver linings. I mean, you and I are both working moms, and I I love it. And I love that, your son and your daughter jump in, because like my kids right now are downstairs sucking up, competing for Wi-Fi right now. But it's a beautiful thing. It's those things that you said that make us human, and the pandemic has made it to be even more accepted to be more human. So I'm hoping that stays with us, and we continue to not only embrace it, but make it more okay. I mean, even on my industry, the financial industry, the idea of working from home and juggling kids going to school and juggling Minecraft, which just seems like that would have been a sign, Sarah, of weakness a few years ago. But it's
Believe me,
nice,
I know.
right? Now it's like, well, this is everyone, this is us, and we're just gonna make the best of it. And I do think we're gonna come out of this stronger. But this is a great opportunity to reach out, especially if you have a small to mid-sized tech business, to reach out to Sarah. I think if nothing else, I would encourage you to follow her on social media. I have the luxury of I feel very grateful because I have an incredible publicist that I've worked with for years. But I can't tell you how valuable it is to have someone who believes in you. Right. And I know, Sarah, that you believe so much in the companies that you work with, because I've talked to your executives. So what made you decide to go into this industry, Sarah?
What was that?
I said, what made you decide to go into this industry?
In I think it was sixth grade, I wrote my first computer program, and I found this love of technology. And as someone who would probably be identified as a bit nerdy, it gave me a place. It gave me a place to use my brain. Maybe when I wasn't included in certain other things that other kids were being invited to, I could spend my time doing something with that, and it became part of my identity. I love what technology can do. I always have had a natural inclination for it. And at some point I found that maybe I wasn't the best maker, but I could be the best promoter. I love public relations because you get people united or talking about an idea, a cause, a concept, a product. So it was kind of marrying those two joys together.
Got it. I've always felt curious because I've known you and I know how good you are. I just didn't know what that was your inspiration to going in that. And I think many of you who are running businesses and watching, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. We know this is a challenging time, but again, we bring in experts like Sarah to kind of tell her story and really give you some tips and advice to maybe give you a way to think about your business that you didn't think about before. And if you're if you're feeling like, what, maybe this might be an opportunity for me to reach out and get some public relations, you now know Sarah better as well. I do think we have more people online right now paying attention than ever. So the media is certainly has a lot of appetite for this sort of content. So thank you, Sarah, so much for your time. Thank you for your two sweet, adorable junior assistants for joining us as well. And as a mom of three, I love it. I love everything about it. I love you. I'm so appreciative of your friendship. And most importantly, I hope everyone will follow Sarah. Sarah, well, let's talk about, we're putting it right here. Here's your Facebook and your Twitter. I gotta say, I highly recommend following her on Twitter. Some great
Back
stuff.
at you, Winnie. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and thank you for everything you do.
Oh, I'm more than happy to do it. And thank you for doing everything that you're doing and helping those of us, even like you said, even those who aren't even your clients, other publicists, the media community to really coming together and supporting one another. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. If I could ask a quick favor, those of you who are watching, and Jim, I know, thank you so much. Great to see you as always. For those of you who are watching, do me a favor and jump on YouTube, Winnie Sun TV, give us a subscribe. That'd be super cool. And turn on that notification button so we can always let you know when a new video gets uploaded. And tomorrow, I want to invite you also to our tweet chat. It's going to be on Twitter. It'll be 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 2 p.m. Eastern if you're joining us from the East Coast. And you can just follow along on Twitter, #WinnieSun. We're also going to have another big discussion tomorrow. And Sarah has certainly been a guest expert panelist on our tweet chat several times. So thank you so much for your time, and we will see you very, very soon. Stay safe. Talk to you next time. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.